Alimud Leinu Nishma Tana Bat Binyamin. Who wants to read?
So we're at the start of mitzvah, huh?
We're in the middle. Dinei mitzvah.
Right, so
See where it says that?
Dinei mitzvah.
Yep.
Dinei mitzvah v'gon zaman shehita to bayom sorry, take my glasses off. A mat b'shehu nishchat b'shalosh ki tot ba'azara v'hi dochin shabbat alav dinei menuyav ukariat ha'halel alav ut kiyat hatzot zchot v'yeter parateha mova'arim b'masechet v'sachim.
Very good.
Somewhat.
Did you do you want to try to explain that?
No.
No.
No?
I can read the English, but that's
Can
not.
I
No,
try?
no.
Can I give it a shot?
Okay.
Okay, so the laws concerning the mitzvah, such as the time of the shachting on the yom, not sure what eimat is.
So eimat, you may be more familiar with the word eimatai, right? Eimat and eimatai are essentially the same. Eimat, usually when we see this, we would assume it means eimat. It's the fear of something, right? But it's just a shorter version of eimatai, which means, of course, what time? So, shchitato bayom eimat. When you shecht it during the day, what time of the day do you need to shecht it?
Okay. And when it is shechted, shalosh kitot, is that one of the watches of the night, of the day or something?
No, what would happen, kita is
Teams?
Kita is a team or a group, and there were 3 times when they would allow people in to shech the Korban Pesach. They would do it in 3 groups. First group would come, they'd fill up to maximum capacity of the Azara, close the gates, and then when that first group was finished, the first kat, which is the singular of kitot, katot or kitot, and they would leave, and the second one would fill to max capacity, and then usually there were some leftovers, some stragglers would come into the third round, and that would be it. And if you didn't make it into the third one, then you were stuck.
Okay.
But since there's the next sentence here, I think. The next phrase after that, it talks about the minuim, right? You have to do what's called minui, meaning you have to declare. You have to get into a group, a chabura, right? And you declare all the members, and you empower one person to go and bring the korban itself into the Beis Hamikdash. So the individuals, the amount of people who are actually bringing animals into the Azara was only about a 50th or so, maybe even an 80th of the number of people who were participating in Korban Pesach. So it wasn't like millions of people. It was just a couple thousand.
And how big was the chavura?
So the chavura is enough so that each person gets at least a kazait of the korban, and the minimum amount is so that you make sure there's no leftovers. So from the sources we see, a chabura could be 50 to 100 people.
Mm.
They would have these big seders,
Right.
big like clans, maybe multiple clans, big family, extended families and stuff.
I can imagine us signing up on Google Sheets, spreadsheet, who's going to be in whose chavura.
Yeah.
People being like, I can't, this is not.
B'chidduchin Shabbat alav, I'm not sure what the v'chi is, but you don't celebrate Shabbat when you do this. Like you can do this on Shabbat.
Right.
Is that what that's meaning?
No, v'chi.
And if?
Correct. Ki in this sense is if. V'chi dochim Shabbat lav. Do we push off Shabbat? And do we, that was one of the topics that's discussed in Psachim, is do we push off Shabbat in order to have Korban Pesach on the correct date?
Right, it's like paralleling the question about in Rosh Hashanah, where that I was just learning is where, like, do you bring the Edu for Rosh Chodesh on Shabbat? And it's always a question that comes up. Okay, the Dinei Miyav and the laws of these big groups, and reciting the Hallel at this time, Alav.
But you would look the same way we still say Hallel at the Seder. And the Seder is, of course, Seder Pesach is not, we call it Seder Pesach because a lot of people think it means that's the Seder of the holiday of Pesach. No, it's the Seder of Korban Pesach. Pesach is the name of the Korban. The holiday is actually called Chag HaMatzot in the Torah. It's not called Chag HaPesach. Chag HaPesach, if it appears in the Torah, it appears only once, and it's actually referring to the 12 hours during which you can bring Korban Pesach.
It's amazing that we still call it Pesach to this day, even though we're not bringing the offering.
That's the name that's stuck, but in the Torah it's called Chag HaMatzot.
Right. Huh. That's interesting. All right. And the alav, when it's the Kriyat Hallel alav.
On the Korban, over the Korban. While we're eating it, we say Hallel.
Amazing. Okay. And sounding the trumpets. Now it doesn't say shofar, it says tzrot, which is a different.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I have to back up a second. I made a mistake. This is not talking about the Seder. This is not talking about eating the Korban. This is talking about shechting the Korban.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kriyat Hallel alav is referring to the fact that the Levi'im, there was a platform in the Azara, the Levi'im would stand, there was a choir and an orchestra of the Levi'im, and every day they would play the Shir Shel Yom. And at the afternoon of Erev Pesach, when everybody's coming to bring their Korban, they would play the Hallel. That was the background music to this mitzvah of shechting the Korban. That was what's going on in the background. It's the Levim singing and playing the Hallel, and that connects with the next bit of Tkiyat HaChatzotzot, that there was also a specific protocol for blowing the trumpets, the silver trumpets, in between the different groups that were bringing the Korban Pesach. At the beginning and the end of each one, they would blow the trumpets.
Okay, and the rest of the details are explained in Sefer Pesachim. That's as far as we got.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to continue.
Good.
More reading. B'noheget b'bizcharim uvin keivot b'zman habayit. והעובר עליך ומזיק ולא עשה פסח חייב כרת ושוגג אינו מביא קרבן לפי שזהו אחד.
אחד מי?
Sorry, on next, I've got to move over the page. אחד משאר, no, hang on, I don't know if I've got this. Yeah, I have. אחד משלושה התאים שבזדונן כרת ואין בשגגתן חטאת והן זה מגדף ומבטל מילה.
And that's the end.
That's the end, yeah. And it's practiced by males and females at the time. Does that mean males and females have the time
Well, it's not the whole sentence. One more word.
of the temple? It says.
Yeah, during the time of the temple.
But sorry, I was thinking they were males and females at the time of the temple, but it was like all people at this time of the temple. I was wondering why males and females at the time of the temple. It's like an old construction because it makes it sound like there was something else at a different time. It's the punctuation that's not sorry. And
It's two axes. We're putting the mitzvah on the two axes. The axis of the hominis
Yeah.
and the place.
Right, I got you.
And the time. There are three axes actually.
Yeah.
Each mitzvah, right? There's place, time, and who,
Yeah.
right? And the
So
The
the
actor.
mitzvah was for men and women. The mitzvah of bringing why females? What is that referring to?
well, you give agency to the person who actually brings it, but women also have to be part of a chabura. They have to eat it. In order to eat it, you have to shecht it, right? So everyone has to shecht it. You just don't have to shecht it personally because you have somebody else doing it in your stead.
Okay, so everybody's chayav.
But a woman could bring it into the Hazara also.
Okay. And translate. Everybody's chayav now. Oh, you just translated that. All right, and it's nahagit. It was a custom, right? That the males and females.
No, it pretends. Alan already translated that part.
Pertains to, okay. And the person who sins or doesn't do this mitzvah on purpose. Easy to use purpose.
Mm.
Yeah. The lowest and doesn't do it is cut off. And by accident, if he doesn't bring a korban by accident because
No. Bishogeg, if he missed the korban pesach by accident, eino mevi korban. He doesn't have to bring an offering to make up for the fact that he missed it.
okay.
I mean, we have other mitzvot like someone who's mechal Shabbat, shogeg, right? If I forgot that it was Shabbat, or I thought it wasn't Shabbat yet, and I made a fire, lit a match or something like that, right? So then you have to bring korban chatat. Even though this has a parallel punishment, right? Somebody who's mechal Shabbat also is chayav karet, or maybe Yom Kippur would be a better example. In those cases, you bring a korban chatat to make up for the fact, right? To atone. So this is also somebody who didn't bring. He missed the Pesach, so he's chayav karet. Even if you miss it only 1 year, like let's see another example, that's your whole life. But he doesn't bring any chatat. There's no atonement for it. You just lost it.
Did you miss it?
Until next year, snooze you lose.
Yeah. Well, there's korban. There's Pesach Sheni.
Oh, so you can bring it for Pesach Sheni.
Yeah.
But if you're traveling, or Pesach Sheni somewhere else.
Well, you need to rearrange your schedule.
Right. Right. It's like
Okay, if you were traveling somewhere and you were stuck for
Yeah.
COVID in those days,
Yeah,
and you
couldn't
couldn't get
find
back for either, is it like counting the old man where you, once you've missed saying the bracha over it on a particular day, you then carry on, you do it differently after, or could you go back? Does next year is next year a reset?
Yes. Next year is next
There's
year.
no continuum. There's no continuum in this. It's a one-off each year.
Yes.
it's a
Absolutely.
great reset now.
Yeah.
All right. So because this is one of the three sins that now zdonan, karet, that are bring karet, zdonan.
No. Zadon is from the word mezid. It's the noun. So zadon,
Okay.
nefesh asher asita bizadon, right? It's intentionally. It's beyond intentionally. It's nefarious. It's a nefarious intention, right?
Right. That's intense. That's a really intense word. Okay. All right. So this is one because this is one of the three nefarious sins.
No. This is one of the three mitzvot
Sins.
or sins, right? That somebody who doesn't do it or goes against it intentionally
Gets karet.
right, has it right. It's chayv karet. Ve'en b'shigan chatat. But there's no korban if you do it by accident. There are only three like this. Just pointing out that there are only two others in the whole 613 that are similar. I mean, there aren't 613 that are chayv karet. There's a much smaller number, only a couple dozen. But out of those couple dozen, all of the others you'd bring a chatat.
Okay, can you dissect these words? Because
Yeah.
the suffix, is that masculine or feminine? The nan and the tam, the nun at the end, because it should go with the chataim, right?
Oh yeah, well that goes back to
Aramaic or something?
it goes back to the nun mem switching like in the plural, right? We saw that we're going to see all over the place.
Okay.
That sometimes we have the yud nun ending instead of where we expect a yud mem, and everybody just treats it the same way. So also here, this is a nun instead of a mem because it's clearly masculine. He says shlosha chataim. If it was feminine, it would be shalosh. Shalosh is feminine, shlosha is masculine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we see shlosha chataim, we know it's feminine, and then the nun ending, meaning their zadon, is confusing, rightfully so. But it's just one of these, what do you call it, discrepancies, that's not the word. Something with an A.
Anomalies?
Anomalies, yeah, maybe.
Okay. So, megadef, majruta zahin, ze megadef, megatel milah.
Right. Hein, zeh, hein meaning
This one.
they. The three of them are zeh,
This one.
the one that we're discussing. Umegadef, that's the second one. Umevatel milah. So brit milah we already read about. We learned that it has the same quality, that it's chayav karet if you go your whole life without a brit milah. But you don't bring a korban. I wonder why. Because you can't. You're dead. And megadef is the kind of the one that stands out, both because Brit Milah and Pesach are mitzvot aseh. Megadef is a mitzvah lo taseh.
Wait, I don't know what megadef is.
Oh, megadef is somebody who curses Hashem or curses using Hashem's name. It could be it's either cursing Hashem or cursing Hashem's name. Or cursing using Hashem's name.
There's a lot of people who do that a lot these days.
No, but like Hashem's actual name, not Hashem.
Ah, okay.
Hashem is just a placeholder, right?
Yeah. No, I mean in English, people.
Oh,
I don't know if that's
English, yeah.
doesn't count.
That's not it either.
They think they are, but they're not.
All right.
Yeah. So the out of these three, you can come up with very clear logic for why the Brit Milah and Korban Pesach, you wouldn't require Korban. First of all, Brit Milah, in order to get there, you have to be dead. In order to get to the Karet part, you're already dead. And Pesach, it's a Korban. You're going to bring a Korban because you missed a Korban. It's kind of odd. We don't have any other Korban that you are chayav karet for, so there's nothing really to compare it to. But it doesn't, we always have a korban in order to atone for some other act, right? But the korban itself saying, oh, I need a korban, like, oh, come on. Now you're like, it's never going to end.
Mm-hmm.
So the megadef is really the one that stands out. We haven't learned about megadef yet, so maybe when we get there we'll get further insight into that. And that is the end of mitzvah Hey. Now we're going to have a bunch of mitzvot here that relate to the Korban Pesach, because every statement in the Torah about a mitzvah, right? There's like the Torah will say, "Do this." That's one mitzvah. But if the Torah says, "Okay, Korban Pesach, you have to do this way," and Korban Pesach, you have to do it this way, and Korban Pesach, don't do this with it, and if you miss it, you do it. All of those are separate mitzvot. They're all counted separately when you're making an accounting. So we're going to have a bunch in a row here that are all dealing with different aspects of Korban Pesach. Before we continue, one little footnote. The Sefer HaChinuch writes here that Noheget b'zcharim u'v'nekevot b'zman habayit, that the timeline is only when there is a Beit HaMikdash, which makes sense. Like, where are you going to bring the Korban if there's no Beit HaMikdash? But interestingly enough, the Rambam says that you don't need the actual building to bring Korbanot. You just need a Mizbech.
Which they have. They did Korban Pesach the last few years.
They didn't do Korban Pesach.
Jerusalem. Yeah,
Nobody did Korban Pesach.
Talk to my husband. He wrote articles about it.
Nobody did
Oh,
Korban
it's a
Pesach.
practice.
Maybe there was a rehearsal.
It was a rehearsal. Sorry.
In order to do Korban Pesach, it has to be in the right place. You can't just put a
Right.
Mizbeach down anywhere, right? It has to
Right.
be in the proper place where the Mizbeach was originally on Har Bayit. So if that happened, it would be all over the news.
I think they're getting ready to do it
Yeah.
this year,
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen, because if it does, then it means that everyone else is in trouble for not doing it. So it's kind of a problem to do it, to have a small group of people taking that initiative. It needs to be something
Yeah, my husband's
national.
whole stand on it is we are chayav to do this and we should be doing it. And really nothing should stop us from doing it.
Well, it's a very small scale perspective.
Okay.
There are even those who say you don't need Mizbeach. You just need to know where the Mizbeach should be, because we'll see further on that there are different korbanot have different things that you need to do with the blood. The korban has three basic stages. You shecht it, you do something with the blood, and then you do something with the body of the animal. And in the case of the Korban Pesach, we eat it. The body is eaten except for a couple of inner organs that are burnt. And the blood is poured at the base of the Mizbeach. Whereas there are other korbanot where you have to take the blood and smear it on the top of the Mizbeach. So if there's no Mizbeach, you can't smear it on the top. But the base is the floor.
So it's still there.
So if you just know where that spot is, and it's not one particular spot, it's the whole length of the base on two sides of it. If you know that general area is, you could just spill the blood right there, and then you're good. So it's interesting idea. There are different opinions about whether or not we can establish with certainty the location without a Navi coming and telling us, this is what Hashem revealed to me where it was. Like Rav Kook said that you need a Navi. You can't, it's not something that we can recover with certainty.
You can't deduce.
Although I have heard from people, nobody, not archaeologists per se, but people who are familiar with Har Bayit, and they say, like, if we just had the freedom to go and excavate, we'd probably find it. We'd find the foundations of the Mizbech, and then we'd know where it is. So here we are. Mitzvah Vav, Mitzvat Achilat B'sar Pesach. So we talked about shechting it, now we're eating it already.
לאכול בשר הפסח בליל 15 בניסן על התנאים שבכתוב, שנאמר ואכילו את הבשר בלילה הזה.
Right. Do you want to give it a go?
You can translate. You
I
don't.
can do most of them. I mean,
Do it.
to eat on Pesach, you have to sacrifice on the 15th night of Nisan, according to the verse, and they shall eat the meat on that night.
Oh, you skipped one word. You're very close.
Okay.
Teha'im.
According to the verse, as it's stated. No, that's what I said, wasn't it?
No,
Teha'im.
Tnaim. You used the word Tnaim.
What are Teha'im?
To know. Specificate like the rules.
Yeah, the conditions.
Yeah.
Right, the conditions stipulated in that pasuk. Meaning, if we skip the Tnaim, if we don't have any conditions, so you can just eat it anywhere you like and however you like.
Can you eat it with sauce, ketchup?
Never with some matzah and some marrow.
You can put flavors on it.
Yeah, they would put spices. It says in the Mishnah they put spices on when they cook it.
Right. And matzah marrow.
Yeah, it's basically a shawarma.
Right.
You have your bread, you have the lettuce, and you have the meat, the salad. It's a shawarma. The lamb
But
shawarma.
it could be like this small because diet.
Well, right. If you don't have enough for everyone to have a whole meal, then you bring other korbanot. Then you bring your korban chagiga, which you can bring any time that week. You bring it that day also, and then you have extra.
So they
You have
really
more
are
meat.
eating a meal. They're not just
Yeah.
cutting
But
out
the
ration.
korban pesach is dessert.
Right. Okay.
So there's massive people growing groups of thirds for their desserts.
No, that's just shechting it.
Got you.
You can't even you can't eat it until nightfall. So you have to shecht it during the day.
They shecht it during the day, cook it. When do they cook it?
Or as soon as they get home,
There's no rule. There's no.
unless it happens on Shabbos or on Erev Shabbos, and then you cook it before Shabbos, you cook it after.
Yeah. Okay.
Keep going.
So yeah,
And then
so
Which says that they shall eat the meat on this night.
Mhm.
Okay. Mishashe mitzvah zo.
shorshe,
Sorry.
shorshe, like shorik.
Shorshe. Mishashe mitzvah zo. Ma shekatabnu bishchitato. כדי לזכור הניסים הגדולים שעשה לנו האל שהוציאנו מעבדות. Your turn.
All right. Hold on a second. From the roots of this mitzvah, what are they? Is that like a question?
No,
Because
where do you see
that we
what?
wrote Mishashem mitzvah zo. Oh, okay. From the roots of this mitzvah.
But just
that
a
we've
just a
written-
short note about
Yeah.
this expression that we see every time.
Okay.
Mi shorshe means some of the roots of the mitzvah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So
that's why the from
Sure.
means from. We see a lot in also in Midrash Halacha that we use this mem from to indicate that it's not the whole thing.
Mhm.
It's only a portion of it. We might see that at some point. I'm sure we
Okay.
will.
So some of the roots of this mitzvah.
Right. But he's not. I think the intent is that Sefer Chinuch doesn't want to pretend to know the real reason behind it. He's saying this is something
Okay.
that you can apply.
What we've written regarding the shech thing,
Right,
in order
right.
to remember the big miracles that God did for us as we left our slavery.
As he brought us out, as he took us
As he
out.
brought us out from slavery.
Right.
דיני המצווה כמה היה כל אחד לאכול ממנו לאכול הפחות והנמנים עליו איך יתנהגו עד שיוכלו שלא לצאת מן החבורה ושלא ישנו ביתר פרטיה מבוארים בפסחים.
All right.
Do you want to give it a go?
Do you want to translate that?
Dinam is how much the laws of this commandment, how much what's how much does each person have to eat?
Right.
How should he?
Wait, did you translate לאכול הפחות?
For each person, how much should be eaten by each person?
No,
What's
לאכול
the minimum?
הפחות.
The smallest amount that should be
Right.
eaten by each person. What you should do before you eat it.
Who should do before?
How he should.
Who's he?
He.
Where do you see that?
Is that the avoiding of them? The people who are avoiding it?
No, nim. This is the I think you kind of glossed over that word. Nim.
That's my brain going the minimum.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Is the plural of nim ne? I gotta move over. Nim ne comes from the word manui, right? Manui is
Subscription.
what we said, right? Somebody who is subscribed or connected to a group, a member, right? So, nimnim are the members of the chabura, members of the group that are bringing a particular
These
korban.
are the minui, that
Manui,
we talked
right?
about in the previous one.
Right, that's the same people. So nimnim alav, those who are members of this right korban pesach team, איך יתנהגו עד שיאכלו. Can you translate that?
What you should do before you eat it, when you eat it.
How they should act. Ad. What's ad?
Before.
Yeah, up to.
Up to
Right.
when they eat it.
Right. Exactly. So what do they do in the meantime? What are the restrictions in the meantime until they?
I thought it meant how they should be eating it. You know what I mean? In between killing and eating, what they should do.
Yeah, ad shochlu, right? Until they get to the point of eating it, which is actually talking about now is Leil Seder, right? It's
Okay.
talking about once you have it ready, you have to. There are some things that you need to do before you can eat it. You eat it at the end of the Seder, right?
Mhm.
That's the afikoman. What we do afikoman, that was when they would eat it.
Should I say it's min havavora? This is about not leaving the group.
Mm-hmm.
V'shalosh yishnu b'yeter.
Shel yishnu. That's the end of the phrase,
Okay. No sleeping.
right?
B'yeter partecha b'movarim v'bifsachim.
Yeah.
And it's explained in Pesach.
Right. All the other details.
Yep.
V'noeged b'schaim v'gavad, so men and women alike are,
Obligated.
it doesn't use the word chayav, it's noeged beh. Okay. Over aleh bitul aseh, and the person who doesn't do this is doing a nullifying or disregarding a mitzvah aseh. B'klal gadol, b'chol Torah, b'chol shomea, shivatel mitzvah aseh, I'm missing a letter. שקופים אותו בית דין אם יש כוח בידם עד שיקיים ממנו. Oh, okay. Right, get ready. So it's a klal gadol. It's like a general rule in all the whole Torah. It's like important statement in Torah regarding everyone who says that they're going to not do this mitzvah. They're kofin, they're, I want to say they're monkeys, but they're, it's like kfira, is that the?
No, this is kfiyah. This is
Kfiyah.
They enforce it. They force.
They
It's
force
a better word
him,
for this.
Beit Din forces him.
Yeah.
If there's power
Coercion.
in their hands.
The word I was looking for is coercion. It's
until-
coercion.
Coerce him if they have the power until he does this mitzvah. They have to force
Right.
him to do it.
Right. So the Beit Din, who is the Beit Din? It's the Sanhedrin or the local Beit Din. I mean, the Sanhedrin can delegate its jurisdiction, its powers. So the local Beit Din, but you have your local government. The Beit Din is a function of the government, just like today. You have the judiciary branch. So, interestingly enough, in halacha, the judiciary branch also has some powers of enforcement.
So this really was a coercive practice.
Like we see in Parashat Shoftim, it says Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol she'arecha. The shotrim belong to the judiciary branch, the enforcers.
And what are they forcing them to do?
So this is someone who declares, I'm not doing Korban Pesach.
Yeah.
So they will try to coerce you to do it. Now there are different means of coercion, right? There's physical force, like we see in Hilchot Gitin, someone who's the Beit Din believes should divorce his wife.
Yeah.
They may force him to divorce his wife by beating him up.
Right.
That's the option that the Rambam mentions, for instance,
Well, that
beating
makes
him up.
sense.
Nowadays, it's not really acceptable
Yeah,
to
that's
beat
too
people
bad.
up. Although I had a friend from Baltimore who said they had a guna gang. They would go and rough people up. But there are other means of coercion, right? They put people in jail, or they freeze their bank accounts. There's financial coercion and there's social. That's what cherem is, right? Cherem is financial and social coercion.
But ma'achpat lehem would be, why does the Beit Din care that you do your Korban Pesach or not?
That's a good question.
It surprises me to see this here.
I think the Beit Din is concerned about the
The statement of I'm not going to do it, the attitude.
Right. The public
public
announcement of
announcement,
it.
yes.
Well, it's beyond that because the Beit Din is also responsible. I mean, the Beit Din here is really just government, but is also responsible for doing things like making sure the wells are clean for all the people coming to Yerushalayim on the regalim, that there are wells along the way for them so they can make the journey safely and have water and everything. So it's like a public health and safety role. Part of that is the welfare of the public is to make sure everybody's doing these mitzvot, because one way to look at it is, we know the Torah tells us when we refuse to follow Hashem's ways, the collective is punished, right?
Oh, maybe Dafka, because it's a mitzvah of chabura, and someone refuses to be in the chabura, as opposed to a mitzvah. Do you see?
Well,
It's
he
a
says
mitzvah
here that
that's
this is
based
any mitzvah taseh.
on- Really? It's a klal gadol b'kol Torah.
Yeah.
This is the general
That's interesting.
principle. So like the other commandments, the positive
And
commandments.
I guess his announcing it, that could influence other people or whatnot. I mean, because like you said, bad things can happen. Plagues have come, destruction.
Right, bad
has
things can
come.
happen to all of us. It's not,
Right.
you're not in this boat by yourself. Everybody, we're all in the same boat. You make a hole under your seat, the whole boat goes down.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think that's kind of the logic.
Right.
So here we have our basis for coercion in Judaism.
Glad when they force you to eat it. So
Yeah.
there's poor vegans like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no religious
I'm not going to do
freedom.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you will.
Have something like Abraham,
It's like freedom of religion is not a Jewish ideal.
Well, freedom of belief for goyim is, yeah, they can believe it. That's where it ends. That's about, yeah, the extent of it. How are we doing on time?
We are 22.
20 to 10?
22.
All right, maybe we can knock one more off.
Yeah, for sure.
שלא לאכול הפסח נע ומבושל.
Oh, yes. Please translate the title of the mitzvah for us.
You can't eat the Pesach. This is cooked or boiled.
No.
No.
Mevushal is boiled.
Yeah.
Na is uncooked.
Raw.
Right.
I don't have that. Mine goes to mitzvah ha-shabbatat chametz.
No. Really? Mitzvah zayin.
This is Zion. I have lahasir kol lechem chametz. It's not where we're at.
Wow. You got a row copy.
Really?
You're
Zion?
going to have to burn this book.
Yeah. Maybe it skipped that paragraph.
Wow, that's fascinating. Do you catch up somewhere else? Like, is it just out of order? You don't have mitzvah chet either that we have. What? Yeah, shpatat chametz is tet in here. Yours is censored, I think.
Abridged.
It's all that coercion's got them upset and shaking.
Maybe it's just in a different place. Yeah, here. Yours is here.
Okay.
Mitzvat lo ta'aseh. Oh, I think what happened is that in your book it's organized by mitzvot ta'aseh, mitzvot lo ta'aseh within the parsha. Since we're in Parshat Bo, that could be what happened.
שלא לאכול מבשר הפסח נע ושל כי אם צלי אש שנאמר not to eat the meat uncooked or boiled but cooked in fire as it says
Roasted.
שנאמר לאכול צלי דווקא לפי שכך דרך בני no.
Wait, if you skip, I think you skipped a bit.
as well.
שנאמר אל תאכלו.
אל תאכלו ממנו נע ובשל מבושל במים כי אם צלי אש.
Right.
Do not eat any of it raw. Do not eat it raw. Or boiled. Only in fire. Yeah?
Tzliyesh, right? Roasted in the fire. It means direct fire. Okay. I would like help parsing these three words. What is this bashel mevushal b'mayim? How do I explain what does each word function as? Is there a verb?
Bashel is
a
an
noun?
adjective.
Bashel is an adjective.
That's what I think.
It is sometimes. I may have misspelled it.
Describing
Do you have vowels in yours?
Yes.
What's the vowel under this bet?
Hang on a second. Ubashel.
Bashel mevushal.
I've got ubashel. I haven't got.
Sorry,
So-
my bad.
the. Oh yes, it is.
That's it. No, you're right like that. You're right.
Oh, like that?
Yeah, ubashel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
no,
correct.
it's a
This-
verb. No, Bashel. No,
Well, it's a tricky one. That's why I asked.
The mivushal is
So
like a
this
past-
word in modern Hebrew, bashel, means
cooked.
it means ripe.
Ah.
But this is not modern Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, that's not the right answer. This is it's a noun verb, or a verb noun. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if there's a word for it in English, because we don't have this in English.
Like a gerund. Like it ends in ing.
Yeah. Is that called a gerund?
Noun, yeah.
Okay. So we have a gerund here. I know how to spell it, but I didn't know what it was. Gerund. Of livashel, right? We say we take livashel. This is something we may have mentioned before, but it's good to go over it. So if I lop off the lamed, I'm left with bashel. It becomes, it doesn't have a dagesh because it's not the beginning of the word. But if I didn't have that vav before it, it would become bashel. Also because it's at the beginning of the word, this becomes kamatz, but that's where it came from. It came from liv bashel. So if that's to cook something and I take away the to, I'm just left with cooking. So cooking, cooked, still doesn't make any sense. But a cooking I shall cook thee is kind of the idea here. It's duly cooked.
Well, like anytime there's two same words next to each other in the Torah, it's like an emphasis.
Yeah,
Surely.
it's called Lashon, Nofel, Lashon, and right, we had this in the Megillah yesterday. Nafol tipol b'fanav, right? Nafol is also one of these same things. If it was one acceptable form of the infinitive, it lean nipol, and then it becomes, you can't say nipol, so you have to say nafol, because when you have a shva, it ends the syllable, and then the pei is the beginning of the syllable. That's why it gets a dagesh. It becomes a pei instead of a fei, but here it's a kamat, so it's actually part of this. It's not the beginning of a syllable. I mean, it is also the end of a syllable. Therefore, it loses its dagesh. Just in case anybody was confused about that. So, nafol tipol that we have in the Megillah, all these mysteries of Hebrew punctuation, is the same thing. Nafol tipol bashel mevushal, it's the exact same structure.
It's surely been cooked, basically. It shall
Surely,
be
it's
cooked.
surely been cooked. Surely
No, well here it's
surely
not
not
cooked in water. Right.
It's surely not cooked.
Right. Loto al tochlu mimenu na uvashel mevushal b'mayim.
Oh. Okay.
but cooked in the fire.
But rather, it should be roasted.
Right.
אבל העניין הזה שלא יאכול אותו קודם, גמר בישולו אפילו בצבי, וזו פירוש נע. שהבשר שהתחיל בו מעשה האור, אוקיי, ונצלה מעט, ואין ראוי לאכילת הדם, עדיין נקרא נע. So I'll stop there for now. So the issue here, this issue that ye'achel, is that what that's saying?
Mm-hmm.
That it shouldn't be eaten, basically.
Lo yochal oto.
So you shouldn't eat it before finishing its cooking, even roasting. So you should cook it through and through before eating it,
So
basically.
no rare.
Yeah.
Right, that's a question. That's a question.
Yeah.
Can you have a rare korban pesach?
Yeah. It also seems to be no.
And if you're eating it on
Well,
Shabbos, is there bishul or bishul mastam? It's just a joke. Okay. Na, the na, is that a please? Is it being nice, na?
No,
This is the question of
It's
rule.
not.
that's the word that we're explaining in the pasuk. Na uvashel mevushal. Na meaning uncooked.
Okay, I missed that. Okay, na. Na is kind of like no. Like, okay, on the same page. So that's the parish of the word na. That the meat that started, that sheitchil bo, that we started with, as a, what's the word?
The subject is before the verb here. Hitchil bo ma'aseh ur.
What's ur?
Fire.
Oh,
Ur is a
kasdim.
synonym for fire.
Ur kasdim.
Yes, that's what, right, that's one of the midrashim explains why it's called Ur Kasdim, because there was a big fire, there was a big furnace. Right,
Okay.
and that was the,
Alright, the ma'aseh ha'or, the act of fire.
not the act, but the effect.
Okay, the effect of the fire, and the it's roasted a little bit, and it is not fitting for a man to eat it still. That's called na. It's called na when it's only cooked a little bit and it's not fitting for a man to eat it.
Right, it's not yet cooked enough that people eat it. So it might
It's
be
like
that
medium.
rare is not called na, because people eat that. That's something that's normal for people to eat.
Yeah.
Like that's the opposite of.
It's not undercooked. Na is essentially undercooked.
So rare. Oh, not
But there's no-
raw.
But it's not it's not a subjective measure. Is this a subjective measure of cooked we're allowed here? Because when I used
That's
to
what it seems to be here.
When I used to eat meat, I'd eat it, like just show it to the fire and finish.
I like well done. So how do we,
Yeah,
define?
we're not eating. We're not on the same club. We're after
No, we're not
eating.
on the same
obviously.
club,
I'm in the raw club.
Right. Medium well. Okay.
Yeah, from what Sefer Chinuch writes here, it seems that
If it's cooked enough,
it goes by the generality of what people do, and if this is something that people consider cooked and eat it as a cooked meat, it's not like you're selling it as raw meat,
yeah, good.
right? It's being sold as a properly prepared steak,
Yeah.
but it's rare. That's one of the ways that we cook meat.
So there's another question: when the offerings that aren't eaten, how cooked do they have to be?
That there are not eaten, then
The Kohanim eat it. Oh, the Kohanim eat all the offerings.
no, there's some there's some. First of all, there's some parts of the animal that always get burned, but there's also korban olah, which is completely burnt, the burnt offering, right?
Okay.
It nobody eats it. It just gets charred in the fire to meet the ash. So that's how cooked it gets.
Ashkenazi cooking.
Okay. I'm getting it. Vakshu chai legamrei shelo itchil bo haor klal ein bichlal lav dana l'kot alav mishum al tochlu mimeno na. All right. So if it's completely alive and you haven't
Completely raw.
Oh, right. If it's completely raw and you haven't cooked it yet in the fire at all, there isn't now lav dana l'kot alav.
And the bichlal lav dina.
Oh.
Right? This is not part of this iser. It's not part of this mitzvah.
So it hasn't been cooked at all.
Right, it hasn't been cooked at all. It's not this mitzvah. That's not what we're talking about here. This mitzvah specifically refers to either being cooked in water, not roasted over the open fire,
Yep.
or being not properly cooked. So we have lav. This is an Aramaic word that is code word for mitzvah lotase. is a code word. It's the it's from the Gemara. It's oftentimes how the Gemara says it. Lav literally just means no. It's a no. It's a big no-no. So that's the lav de na. So we have lav de,
No.
meaning
It's not.
belongs to. Shel na. So the mitzvah of not eating it raw doesn't include completely uncooked. Na is undercooked. It's not raw. That's just what he's pointing out here. So if somebody sees his neighbor trying to serve the undercooked Korban Pesach, and he says, "Don't take a bite of that. You're going to be, you'll get lashes in court if you do." Well, he can say to his neighbor, "No, I won't. Take a bite." And he's right. What he did not fulfill the mitzvah of eating Korban Pesach, but he can't get lashes in court for it. That's the distinction.
It's obnoxious. Never. Lilkot alav.
That's the lashes.
Ah, right. Okay. Because of the al tachlu mimenu na, it doesn't pertain to that. Okay. Aval asor midiraita shekol she'enu tzli esh asura haTorah derech klal. Okay, but it's Isser. The Torah is Isser. Not permitted by the Torah. That
Right, it's forbidden, but
it's forbidden by the Torah.
not by the Torah, but mi deraita as opposed to being derabanan. Okay, so we have these two general classes of mitzvah
Like written as opposed to
or
oral.
halacha. It's more like classification of halacha, right? We have deraita, or sometimes called mi deraita, right? Oraita is the Torah. So this is Torah based. And whoa, what happened to my handwriting today?
Is it like written versus oral?
No, it could be oral and still be deraita. And you have the Rabbanan. So that belongs to the Rabbanan, the Chachamim. And that would be rabbinic. So it's not a written versus oral, it's a Torah versus rabbinic, divine versus human, halacha. It could be a negative, it could be positive, right? In this case, we're talking about Isur D'Oraita. There's also mitzvah D'Oraita, mitzvah D'Rabbanan. Or chayav midoraita, to do something, you have to do something D'Oraita, you have to do something D'Rabbanan.
Right. That's so interesting because I'm familiar with those two terms, but in my head, Torah is Torah, whether it was said by Hashem from Har Sinai or whether it was decided, as a halacha. So it's important to make that distinction.
That's a good approach, not to make that distinction, but when you're learning, you need to recognize the differences.
Right.
Yeah. In your day-to-day life, it's good to just be on
Right.
that one track. There are other terms that we use that are synonymous with D'Rabbanan, so it could be Midivrei Sofrim. That's another one. Midivrei Chachamim. Blanking out on the other ones. But there are some others.
Okay, and the Torah, sometimes they call it Katuv. They refer to the Torah as HaKatuv.
Usually Akatuv refers to a particular pasuk, not as the body of Torah, right?
All right, so I'll just finish the sentence. Okay, but it is forbidden from Torah that all. said that all the meat basically that is not roasted on fire is forbidden. That the Torah forbid it in general.
Right.
Okay.
Anything that's not roasted is forbidden. Therefore, the raw meat is forbidden. But it's not part of this mitzvah. This mitzvah is specific to undercooked or boiled.
They didn't boil the offerings ever? Only roasted them?
No, this is specific to Korban Pesach. There are certain offerings that they had a specific way of cooking them, but mostly if you could eat it, you eat it how you like. You could prepare it how you like. Yeah.
Okay. We go till 10 or 10:15? Okay.
Oh, well, finish the paragraph at least.
הפירוש שבשלו במים או בכל משקה או במי פירות שנאמר ובשל מבושל ריבה הכל.
Riba.
Riba. Jelly, riba. Okay.
It's all
okay.
jelly.
And the pirush explanation of bashel shebashlu b'mayim. Okay. Getting tired. All right, Alan, you translate this.
Boiled in water or bachal liquid. Boiled or in liquid or anything.
Any liquid.
Any liquid. Rot in fruit juice.
Mm-hmm.
שנאמר ובשל מבושל, ובשל מבושל. שנאמר ובשל מבושל ריבה הכל. As it said, surely boiled, includes this, these, all of these.
Right. So the every time that we see this double usage, the double verb, the לשון נופל לשון, so the tendency of the halachic, what they call it, heuristics of the halachic medrash is to make it a generalization, right? Even though it says specifically water, if it had just said מבושל במים, then we would say, oh, if you boil it in oil, you're not doing this mitzvah. You don't have a problem with this mitzvah. Now you're still not roasting it, but you don't, just like the guy is eating it raw, right? He's not doing this isser. He's just he just has a problem that he's not eating it cooked the right way. But the fact that it says bashel מבושל extends it to any liquid. That's the way that Chachamim understood it. Is that clear?
I know for me, I'm gonna have to look at it again for sure. It's going in the first layer, and then I have to look at it again to make it more clear. I couldn't explain it the way you just did.
Should I draw a diagram on the board?
Diagrams are always helpful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do a little diagram. Okay.
I'd say I've got 80% of.
Okay, so this is called in the world of darshaning, of midrash halacha, right? We have this concept of Yud Gimel Midot. Yud Gimel Midot is famous. There are two Yud Gimel Midot that are famous. There's Yud Gimel Midot Arachamim, and there's Rabbi Yishmael Omer, B'Shlosh Midot HaTorah Nidreshet. So these are the Yud Gimel Midot of the. There's an H word. I don't think it's heuristics. It's something else. Maybe it's heuristics. There's an H word that's used in English for the Yud Gimel Midot. In any case, in the context of Yud Gimel Midot, which are the rules, the principles by which we can derive halacha from psukim, we have a concept of ribui and mi'ut. ribui is an extension, meaning that the pasuk states something and then says something else that extends the meaning of the original word. And mi'ut is the opposite. Means there's something that was stated in a general fashion, and then a clarification comes that narrows down the scope of it. So what would we call that?
Narrows. So one's widening one's narrowing it.
What would we have a good word for that in English?
Contraction, maybe? No.
Restricting.
Restricting, okay.
Restricted, yeah.
It's a restriction of the original meaning. So in this pasuk we have, if we just had the word מבושל. Okay. How do we understand this word? מבושל means cooking in a liquid. We have different words for cooking in Hebrew. We have tzli esh, which is direct fire. We have מבושל. We have tigun, right, which means cooking in oil, frying. There's, in rabbinical Hebrew, there's a concept of shlika, which is the shlok, which is to saute in a liquid, not necessarily in oil.
What's the difference between that and the
Mevushal is like in a pot, it's like a soup. It's,
Right.
it's to be immersed in water.
This is more like, what should we call it, braising. It would be more like this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So mevushal, in general, just means to cook it in a liquid, like immersed in the liquid.
Yeah.
Now, when it says mevushal b'mayim, that's mi'ut, right? We've gone from cooking in a pot of something to cooking in a pot of water. But when we have bashel, that's ribui, because we've added on something that all of a sudden, that opens it up. And since it's been opened up again, we're back where we started.
You're back where we started.
We're back where we started. We started with just mevushal.
Oh.
Had we had only that word. Now, why would the Torah write something with 3 words when it could have written it in 1 word?
Mm-hmm. To teach something extra.
Because I think if it had just been 1 word, then we probably would have related to it differently. Rather than saying bashel mevushal b'mayim, it stands out, right? If it just now mevushal would be like uncooked or cooked. Like, what are you trying to tell me, right?
Oh, it leaves no stone unturned.
So here it's kind of building 2 different axes of how to prepare your korban pesach, right? You have the axis of medium, meaning the substance that you're cooking it in, and there's an axis of how cooked, the degree of cookedness, right? So you have the degree and you have the medium, and it's saying, well, there are like all these different things here. Wait, I put that too close. I like graphs. So you have water, you have oil, and you have flame. And then degree is uncooked, would be like on the 0. This is uncooked, right? This is raw.
This is not.
And this is undercooked. And then there's
Almost cooked.
properly cooked. This is like
Yeah.
cooked. And then there's burnt.
Yeah.
So the Torah is saying, you got it here and here, you got it right there. That's the Korban Pesach. It has to be right there. Not over here and this anywhere else in this axis, and not under this. Not undercooked, raw. Obviously, that's not called cooking with a flame because you can cook it at all. Burnt, I don't think we're going to see here, but I'm just from experience with the way that Chachamim understand the Torah, is that whenever you're eating something, it has to be in a state that's fit to be eaten. And since something burnt is not food, if you ingest it, it's not even called eating. So we have a mitzvah to eat the Korban Pesach, it has to be in a state. Since people eat raw meat, people eat undercooked meat, you could still make the argument that that's called eating the Korban Pesach.
Or there's a spectrum between the cooked and the undercooked. Maybe it's not a point, maybe it's not an exact point on
Oh,
that, but
yeah.
it's
Each
a
one has
range.
like a, right. Each one has, right, these are points on the x-axis and the y-axis, it's like a bar.
shade.
So there's like a whole bar here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the sweet spot.
Yeah, right, so you have, within here, you have the rare, and you've got the medium, and then you've got the well done. Right? So you guys are both represented here. It's very important. Representation.
I feel that.
Excellent. Yeah.
All right, is that
Really
clear?
helpful. Yeah. It really brings home the
Okay.
sort of learning styles together. Is very
Awesome,
good. Yeah,
fantastic.
very awesome.
That was fun also.
Good. Okay, excellent.
Okay,